Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that's as harsh as it is liberating. No one stumbles into greatness. Every towering dream, every audacious goal, every vision that seems too big for the room it, all comes at a cost, and that cost is sacrifice. We live in a world obsessed with speed, quick wins, overnight success, viral fame. But you and I both know that what's real, what's worth it, isn't found in shortcuts. It's built brick by brick, choice by choice, with one powerful force driving it forward: discipline. Greatness is never handed to anyone. It demands something in return, something real, something personal. At the core of every extraordinary achievement is a deep, often painful truth. You must sacrifice. Not once, not twice, but over and over again in ways most people aren't willing to. Because big dreams come with a big price tag, and that price is often paid in silence, behind the scenes, far from the spotlight. While others are sleeping in, you'll be rising early. While others are indulging in distractions, you'll be focused, locked in, staying committed to the process. That gap, the difference between where you are and where you want to be, is filled with the things you're willing to give up. People admire success, but rarely understand what it costs. They see the results, the wealth, the recognition, the lifestyle, but they don't see the missed family gatherings, the nights spent alone, the early mornings with no applause, the weekends sacrificed while everyone else is relaxing. Success demands that you put your goals above your impulses. It's not about working yourself into the ground for the sake of burnout. It's about consciously choosing what matters most to you and being willing to give up what doesn't serve that mission. Comfort is tempting, but comfort never made anyone legendary. Growth begins when you start saying no to distractions, to temptations, to anything that doesn't align with your purpose. Big sacrifices look different for everyone. For some, it's cutting ties with toxic relationships. For others, it's giving up a stable paycheck to build something of their own. Sometimes it means walking away from the familiar, from safety, from things that once brought you joy. It's not easy. In fact, it's incredibly hard. But here's what most people miss. The pain of sacrifice is temporary. The reward lasts a lifetime. And in many cases, it's not even about what you give up, it's about what you gain in return. Discipline, clarity, strength, and the kind of inner confidence that comes only from knowing you've earned every inch of your progress. There's a moment in every dreamer's life when they're forced to decide, do I want the life I dream about, or do I want the comfort I have now? That moment reveals everything. Because if the dream is big, the sacrifices must be even bigger. You will be misunderstood. People will question your choices. They'll call you obsessed, stubborn, unrealistic. Let them. They don't see what you see. They don't feel the fire burning inside you. Most people choose ease over excellence because excellence demands a toll they're not willing to pay. But if you've set your sights on something greater, you don't get to move like everyone else. You don't get to blend in. You don't get to play small. The world doesn't bend to wishes, it responds to the relentless. Discipline is the silent engine behind every form of lasting success. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, and it rarely gets the credit it deserves. But it is always working. When motivation fades, Sand, it always does. Discipline steps in and takes control. Motivation is emotional. It's tied to how you feel in the moment. It's easy to act when you're excited, when you're fresh, when the energy is high. But discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Discipline is the habit of showing up whether you feel like it or not, of doing the work when no one's watching, of committing to the process when the results are nowhere in sight. People often confuse discipline with restriction, as if it's something that cages you in or limits your freedom. But in reality, discipline is the opposite. It's the key to true freedom. When you master yourself, when you take control of your time, your habits, and your choices, you begin to live on your terms. You're no longer a slave to impulse or distraction. You're no longer tossed around by the moods of the day. You move with purpose, with intention. Every small decision becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. And over time, those small, consistent actions compound into massive transformation. The truth is, talent alone is never enough. Intelligence, creativity, even passion, all of these things lose their power without discipline. You can have the most brilliant ideas in the world, but if you can't follow through, they stay stuck in your head. Discipline is what turns vision into action. It's what takes a dream from the clouds and plants it in the real world. It's what turns an average person into an expert, a beginner into a leader. Every success story, when stripped down to its core, reveals a pattern of disciplined behavior repetition, focus, resilience, and a refusal to give in to excuses. There will always be distractions. There will always be a reason to quit, to delay, to wait for a better time. But discipline trains you to keep moving forward regardless. It's the inner voice that says, keep writing, keep training, keep building, even when the rewards haven't shown up yet. It's the backbone of every strong routine, the foundation of every powerful habit, and the bridge that carries you over every excuse your mind throws at you. And the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Discipline, like a muscle, grows with repetition. Most people wait for a feeling to inspire action, but those who achieve extraordinary things flip the equation. They act first, consistently, and let the results fuel their motivation later. They don't need perfect conditions, they don't need approval, they don't even need to feel ready. They simply decide that the goal is non-negotiable, and they organize their lives around that decision. Discipline gives them structure in chaos, clarity in confusion, and progress in moments when everything feels stalled. It becomes not just a tool, but a way of life. Success is often glamorized, painted as a highlight reel of achievements, luxury, and applause. But what most people never see is the slow, patient grind that happens behind the scenes. The truth is, there are no shortcuts. There is no magic formula, no overnight fix, no secret path that allows you to skip the work. Real success, deep, lasting, and meaningful, is earned through time, effort, and resilience. The world might tempt you with hacks and quick fixes, but those are illusions. They may create sparks, but they don't build fire. The fire of success comes from steady, disciplined action, repeated day after day, long before anyone notices. The desire for shortcuts is understandable. We're conditioned to crave speed. We want instant results, fast progress, immediate validation. But speed doesn't equal substance. You can rush a process, but you can't rush growth. Skills take time to develop. Wisdom takes experience. Confidence takes repetition. You can read every book, watch every motivational video, take every course, but if you're not willing to put in the reps, you'll stay stuck at the surface. Shortcuts rob you of the very process that builds you into the person capable of holding success. Without the journey, the destination means little. There's a difference between movement and progress. You can be busy without building anything. You can be constantly in motion but going in circles. The path to real success isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right things consistently, over time. It's about mastery, not multitasking. It's about going deep, not wide. And that kind of focused effort requires patience, something most people have forgotten how to practice. Patience isn't passive, it's a form of strength. It's the willingness to play the long game while others chase the rush of shortcuts. People often look at someone successful and assume they got lucky, that something must have just clicked. What they don't see are the years of sacrifice, the nights when they questioned everything, the quiet mornings spent building when no one else cared. They don't see the rejection, the failure, the persistence it took to keep going. They don't see the 100 steps taken before the first win. Every great accomplishment is rooted in consistency. You plant the seed, you water it, you protect it, and only after time and effort does it bloom. That's the reality of success. It grows in the soil of patience, watered by discipline, and fueled by an unshakable commitment to keep going. You will be tempted to cut corners. You'll see others rise faster and wonder if you're doing something wrong. But remember this, fast success often fades just as quickly. What's built slowly is built to last. The foundation matters more than the finish line. If your process is solid, the results will come not instantly, but inevitably. You must choose to trust the grind, to trust the time, and to trust yourself. Because real success is not about how fast you get there, it's about how well you build what you're chasing. The idea of overnight success is one of the most dangerous illusions sold to us today. Everywhere we look, there are stories of people who seemed to rise instantly, who launched something one day and were famous the next. But when you peel back the curtain, when you really look at what happened behind those headlines, you'll find years of unnoticed effort, silent preparation, and invisible failures. There are no shortcuts. Success, in any form that lasts, is earned through repetition, resilience, and a relentless dedication to the long road. It is the product of compound effort small actions done consistently over time that eventually create massive results. We live in a fast-paced culture that values speed over substance. People want quick fixes, instant results, and shortcuts to mastery. But the truth is, you can't hack your way to excellence. You can't skip the steps required to become great. Every meaningful skill, every powerful transformation, every breakthrough is the result of deep, focused work. Shortcuts may offer speed, but they take away the process that builds character, strength, and depth. They rob you of the struggle, and in that struggle is where your real growth happens. The discomfort, the slow progress, the trial and error, it's not just part of the journey, it is the journey. Without the grind, without the setbacks and lessons, the success you achieve becomes hollow. It lacks roots, and anything without roots can be easily shaken or taken away. That's why so many people who rise too quickly often fall just as fast. They didn't build a foundation strong enough to support the weight of their success. True achievement is not about how fast you get there. It's about who you become on the way, the patience to do it right, the humility to start small, and the consistency to keep going when progress feels invisible. Those are the qualities that create lasting results. Success doesn't respond to talent alone. It responds to those who stay the course. It responds to effort repeated long after the excitement wears off. When you commit to the process, even when it's slow and quiet, you separate yourself from the crowd. Most people quit when things don't happen fast enough. Most people look for the easy way out when the road gets hard, but those who are willing to embrace the long game, to put in the work day after day without applause, are the ones who eventually rise above. They may take longer to get there, but when they do, they stay. They thrive, because they've earned every step of it. You have to be willing to choose depth over speed, craft over convenience, and growth over gimmicks. The process may not always feel exciting, but it's building something real. You may not see the results right away, but every step is stacking in your favor. And over time, with persistence and belief, what once felt like a long, slow path will reveal itself as the only path that ever truly worked. When you set your sights on a dream that's larger than life, you can no longer afford to live like everyone else. Extraordinary dreams demand an extraordinary level of commitment, and that means shedding the habits, the thoughts, and even the environments that belong to the average. You can't build a legendary future with a casual mindset. You can't create something exceptional while holding on to the routines of mediocrity. There's a level of discipline, sacrifice, and self-awareness that must emerge the moment you decide to chase something beyond the norm. Because once your dream expands, you must expand with it. Outgrowing average is not a matter of ego, it's a matter of survival. The habits that keep most people comfortable are the very habits that will keep you stuck. Average wakes up late. Average waits for inspiration. Average gets distracted by things that don't matter. And if you're serious about building something that lasts, you have to rise above those tendencies. You have to be willing to look at your life and ask, what am I doing that's slowing me down? What am I holding on to that no longer serves the future I'm building? This kind of honesty is rare, but it's necessary. Because your results will always reflect your standards, and average standards produce average outcome. The transition isn't easy. Outgrowing average means you'll feel alone at times. You'll feel misunderstood. The people around you may question your intensity, your ambition, your unwillingness to settle. That's part of the process. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to build, to lead, to create something that shifts the direction of your life and possibly the lives of others. And to do that, you have to become ruthless about your time, your focus, and your energy. Every day becomes a choice between who you were and who you're becoming. Average says good enough, but dreams that matter never settle for good enough. They demand excellence. They demand late nights, early mornings, and hours spent in solitude doing the work no one claps for. They demand self-respect enough to say no to easy distractions and yes to the difficult, often boring process of mastery. To outgrow average, you must stop comparing yourself to those who are content with less than you're capable of. You must raise your standards so high that you feel stretched every single day. That stretch, that tension, that space between where you are and where you want to be, that's where transformation lives. There's a mental shift that happens when you decide to leave average behind. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop making decisions based on what's easy and start choosing what's effective. You begin to value growth over comfort and progress over popularity. The more you commit to your higher standard, the more momentum you build, and eventually what once felt hard becomes your new normal. Your new baseline. That's when you know you've outgrown average, and not just in what you do, but in who you are. Sacrifice is not just about what you give up, it's about what you make space for. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your vision, you're saying yes to something that does. In a world overflowing with noise, distractions, and endless options, clarity is a rare gift. It doesn't come from having more, it comes from removing what's in the way. When you begin to make sacrifices for your dream, when you consciously choose to let go of comfort, convenience, or temporary pleasure, you start to see what truly matters. The path forward becomes clearer because you've stripped away the things that once blurred your focus. Sacrifice forces you to confront your priorities. It reveals whether your dream is something you just talk about or something you're truly committed to. Talk is cheap. Action is real. And action requires trade-offs. You can't have unlimited freedom and discipline at the same time. You can't keep every option open and still give your best to one goal, so you choose. You let go of the good to reach for the great. You distance yourself from anything, people, habits, environments that pulls your energy away from where it needs to be. And in that letting go, you gain something powerful. Direction. There's a mental clarity that only sacrifice can bring. When you decide to stop chasing everything, you gain the ability to pursue the one thing that truly matters. You stop spreading yourself thin and start going deep. You stop being busy and start being effective. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, it comes from cutting out the unnecessary. And often the unnecessary is disguised as harmless. It's the casual scroll through your phone, the conversations that drain you, the commitments you said yes to out of guilt instead of purpose. These things add up. They clutter your time and blur your vision. And if left unchecked, they quietly steal your momentum. Every sacrifice is a statement. It says this matters more, and the more you make those statements through your actions, the stronger your identity becomes. You start to embody your vision instead of just dreaming about it. You become someone who follows through, someone who honors the weight of their own goals. It's not always easy. In fact, most of the time it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is a sign of growth. It means you're choosing alignment over ease. It means you're taking ownership of your path instead of drifting through life, hoping things will fall into place. Clarity is power, and sacrifice is the gateway to that power. It teaches you to stop chasing validation, to stop needing approval, and to start trusting your own direction. The more intentional your sacrifices, the more control you gain over your time, your habits, and your future. You stop living by default and start living by design. You begin to feel the difference between movement and progress, between noise and meaning. Sacrifice refines your focus until only what matters remains. Discipline doesn't just help you reach your goals, it transforms you into the kind of person who can sustain and thrive within those goals. The process of becoming disciplined changes the way you see the world, the way you approach challenges, and ultimately the way you think about yourself. Discipline, at its core, is about creating a structure for your life that allows you to not only pursue your ambitions, but also to grow and evolve in ways you didn't think possible. Over time, discipline molds you into someone who doesn't just talk about their dreams. They become the kind of person who makes them happen. And this transformation goes far beyond achieving specific outcomes. It touches every area of your life. When you commit to discipline, you're committing to a higher standard of living. The more you practice the small, consistent actions that discipline demands, whether it's waking up early, sticking to a routine, or focusing on the task at hand, the more you build the muscle of consistency. This muscle becomes a part of you. It moves from being something you do into who you are. People start to recognize you for your reliability, your work ethic, and your ability to follow through, not because of the results, but because of the process. Your self-discipline builds your reputation, and as your reputation grows, so does your belief in yourself. The most profound shift comes when you stop relying on external factors like motivation or inspiration to get things done. Instead, you tap into an internal source of strength that's always there, waiting for you to access it. Discipline teaches you to stop waiting for the right moment or the perfect conditions. You learn to act regardless of how you feel or what's going on around you. You become someone who doesn't need to be motivated. They simply need to execute. This sense of control over your own actions is a powerful form of self-mastery that spills into every aspect of your life. You become someone who can tackle obstacles without hesitation, who shows up even when it's hard, who pushes through discomfort because they know it's part of the process. Over time, discipline creates a chain reaction in your life. The more you push yourself to do what others won't, the more you begin to trust your own capabilities. You learn that your potential is not limited by your circumstances, but by your commitment to doing the work day in and day out. This realization transforms the way you see setbacks. Instead of viewing challenges as barriers, you start to see them as opportunities to refine your discipline further. Each failure becomes a lesson in persistence. Each delay becomes a chance to double down on your efforts, and every small win becomes a building block for your confidence. This transformation is not always easy. It requires sacrifice, discomfort, and often moments of doubt. But the rewards of disciplined living are immense. You not only achieve the success you're after, but you also become a stronger, more capable, more resilient version of yourself. Discipline doesn't just help you build your future, it builds the person who deserves that future. And as you continue on your journey, you'll realize that the biggest change isn't in what you achieve, it's in who you've become along the way.